Hey folks, today we're covering Tinto Flavor 16, and this is going to be covering Brandenburg and Prussia, and this is for Project, no, it's Europa Universalis 5. I can now say that without worrying about spoiling the title. But today, as I said, we're going to be covering these two nations, and Pavia's going to start here by talking about the actual kind of tag system. If you're new to this game, it kind of works that you can play as one country, and then you can, I'm not going to say like evolve it into another country, because funnily enough, as he says here, Brandenburg into Prussia is one of the more smooth ones. There are a bunch of these. You just say they're going to be covered in future dev diaries. That is going to be England into Great Britain, Castile into Spain, and there'll be a bunch more of these as well. If you are new to the game, as I said, this is like the evolution of a country into the next tier of tag, basically. So again, England into Great Britain, these kind of things. So you'll see a bunch more of these, but this one is going to be on Brandenburg and Prussia. The beginning here, as always, is going to show you the intro text. If you're looking around the map for a country to play, you'll be able to read up this like recent history of Brandenburg. And then next you can see the graphical kind of version of this, which is always tagged together. So the Electorate of Brandenburg, you can see the flag there. You can see Ludwig here having a good old time in his throne room. And then you can also see like an overview of the country. So you can see the cultures here, the faith here as well. And as always, everything you see here is work in progress. This will probably change like the layout maybe and how it looks before the launch of the game, but this is currently how it is looking. And as we've seen before, there have been some improvements. If you haven't watched my first impression video, you can also see this kind of live in action in the game, so do give that a watch after this video, obviously. Watch this one first, and then go watch it if you haven't already. Next, they're going to show you the starting situation of Brandenburg, and he says here, now they've officially announced the game, there's going to be some additional screenshots in these videos, because they're not like hiding how the map looks and things like that. So you can see the starting situation for Brandenburg there, looking pretty good. That one army just hanging out up there, which is pretty funny. The next one is the map a little bit further zoomed out, so you don't see the territory as much, but you can get a more just quick overview of who is who, who's kind of around you and what the situation is. And then in the next one, you can also see a different version of that as well. A little bit more zoomed out than the last one, and just showing you again with the colours kind of what's going on with the country. So kind of the same information, but the different tiers, I guess, of how the map looks at the moment. Next, they're going to give us the structural flavour content, so the things around like the mechanics around the game, and then the second half, as always, is going to be around the events and special characters and things like that. So the first one is the government reform, and very similar to Saxony, it is going to have the same government reform as them. Monthly progress towards defensiveness, 0.10. Noble estate satisfaction equilibrium, plus 5%. Army maintenance, minus 5%. Obviously, the army going to be a huge thing, especially once you form Prussia. Get those Prussian space marines from EU4, and we're going to be building kind of the nation towards that probably. Again, you don't have to do that. You can play it as like a trading realm, I guess, if you really wanted to. You probably don't want to do that because a lot of the mechanics are going to be built towards doing it as an army-based one, but you can play it however you want. As Johan said in the announcement video yesterday, you can play any country in whatever style you like. Yes, you're going to miss some specific bonuses probably, and you'll see that here, the very army-led bonuses that you will get through some of the reforms and things like that, but you could play it as a trade country if you really wanted to. Next, they're going to show off the right to inherit. This is an estate privilege. This is monthly progress towards aristocracy, 0.10. Stability investment cost minus 20%, which is pretty nice. That's how much you can pay monthly to increase your stability. That is 20% cheaper to do. The next is the Brandenburg rights, and that is 10% trade capacity. It is not the age of traditions. It is not the age of Renaissance. It is not the age of discovery. So obviously, once those pass, you can do this. And then you are going to be doing some additional trade capacity, which again is pretty cool. You do need that money to fund your armies. The next one is a policy within the mining law. So you can see that here. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name. This is expand mining cost minus 20%, founding town cost minus 20%. Towns are pretty expensive to found, so that is a pretty sizable reduction there. And again, that's going to allow you to build up your economy, which means you're going to have more money, and then you can use that money to fund other things as well. Next, they're going to show off some of the unique advances that both Brandenburg and Prussia have. So the first one here is expansive policies. This is Casus Belli creation speed plus 25%, which means it's 25% faster to do. So it doesn't increase how long that takes. It makes it actually shorter. It's one of those things where the stats kind of look a bit weird depending on how you're reading it. This makes the creation speed that bit faster, which means you can do more wars. You can get up to a lot more fun as these nations. The next is the Soldiers of Fortune, available in the Age of Renaissance. Higher mercenary premium cost minus 10%, so you can get those mercenaries for that little bit cheaper. The next, I'm not going to try butcher the name, but this is available in the Age of Discovery. Tax efficiency plus 10%, so you're getting more money from your estates, which is nice. The next one is available in the Age of Reformation. Noble estate satisfaction equilibrium plus 5%, and then the same for burghers, but 2.5%. So this one's pretty good because you're not giving up anything to get that satisfaction equilibrium higher. So the next one is going to be army professionalism. This is available in the Age of Absolutism, army morale plus 10%. So your armies are going to be better with morale, which means they'll last longer in battle. So really helping you in that warfare things you're going to be doing. The next one is the Goose Step. This is available in the Age of Revolutions, infantry power plus 20%. So yes, very, very good here. It's going to help you be that much better in battles, help you with your expansion, expanding Prussia across the map. And these are only some of the advances. There are ones less focused on the military that will be available. But Pavia, again, just showing us a selection of them here. Mostly focused in military because I'm sure most of you watching this, if you are going to play as Brandenburg and Prussia, are probably going to go down that military focus that they did historically. But that is the end of like the structural content. Next, they're going to talk about the narrative content, which does also lead into the structural side a little bit, depending on what options you choose. And the first event here that he's going to show off is actually one of the initial events you'll get playing as Brandenburg. And this is about the von Wittelsbach of Brandenburg event. And this is all about the realm falling into the hands of the Holy Roman Emperor Ludwig IV von Wittelsbach, who is the elected emperor of the HRE, obviously. In order to keep the Northern Territory administered, the Holy Roman Emperor assigned the Brandenburgian March to his son, Elector Ludwig von Wittelsbach. So Brandenburg will prevail is the option you can choose. This will lower your legitimacy by 50, which is not great. And this will cause an effect to happen that will last forever, although it doesn't technically last forever. You'll see in this next bit, this modifier is active until we are no longer ruled by the von Wittelsbach or until an event happens. In order to achieve this event, we must reach an investment score of 10. It is currently minus 15. We will receive events which will allow us to move the score in either direction. At minus 20, the neglect of Brandenburg event will happen, removing the von Wittelsbach from power. So this is pretty cool. You can play this in different ways. You can either lead into, or you could try wrestle power back into the previous owners or the previous rulers of this realm. I like events like this where you can play it out two different ways. Very similar to Scotland with a civil war at the beginning. You can win it as the current rulers, or you could try get Balliol to win it, and then you play as Balliol and things like that. So I like these events where there's like two different ways for it to play out, and that actually affects like long-term how you play the game. So you can see the modifier here, max control minus 20%, monthly control 0.5% worse, monthly legitimacy 0.02. So you do want to try get rid of this as quick as you can through either of those ways. And then as part of this, as it says, you're going to get events that are going to skew the score one way or another, and they're going to show a few of these off now. So the first one is the return of Waldemar Askanier. I apologize for butchering the names. As no emperor, the HRE is connected to the ruling von Wittelsbach anymore. The legitimacy of Ludwig von Wittelsbach is once again in question, and this is kind of bringing up that kind of succession again and who should rule it. And there are a couple of options here. Contact the Holy Roman Emperor, execute the pretenders ourselves, or abdicate to the true ruler of Brandenburg. And depending on which way you choose, that is going to play out your campaign a few different ways. Next is an event that will trigger after 1500s if certain requirements are met, and it is regarding the Teutonic Order, which was covered recently in a different flavor talk, so do go back and watch that if you are interested in the Teutonic Order. So this is the von Attenberg of Teutonic Order event. The Teutonic Order was of special interest to us ever since the German people came to dominate the area of Prussia. With our solidified control over the electorate of Brandenburg, we were able to spread members on the von Wittelsbach onto other thrones of Europe, and this is playing along with that, so you can align with them, which is the historical option. And again, just above that, you can see like what happened historically, and then let us focus elsewhere. So you can just say, you know, I don't want to do that. I want to do whatever I want instead, which you can do. And then through this, you can form Prussia itself. There are other ways to do this. You don't have to do that event to form Prussia. But if you do that, you will see this option, Form Prussia, Formable Country. This is a Tier 2 formable country. You will become a monarchy. You will gain 100 legitimacy. You'll get a nice map color for your realm, which they're going to show off later on. And then you're playing as Prussia and having a good old time. So regarding that, we've got the Prussian crown next. Our great nation rises to loftier heights. The electors have made it known that he intends to elevate Prussia to the rank of kingdom and himself to the rank of king. As a prince of the HRE, it would be untowards if we did not consult the emperor in this matter, and we've got to go to the emperor and say, hey, I'm a king, we shall be kings. And then if you choose that option, imperial tradition dictates that only the kings in the empire should be the kings of the Romans, that being the emperor and the king of Bohemia. We have, however, reached an intriguing legal compromise with the consul Ludwig. Our monarch shall use the king in Prussia, as Prussia lies outside of the boundaries of the HRE. We can name ourselves kings without the need to ask the emperor to break imperial traditions. I love things like this that happened historically, where it's like, oh, I'm not the emperor of France, I'm the emperor of the French. Like, just the linguistic difference that actually makes it, like, I don't know, more legitimate, as it says here. Like, oh, I can't be called a king. I'm going to call myself a king in Prussia, which is different, even though it's exactly the same, really. And you can see here, a satisfying compromise. We gain 10 prestige, 10 legitimacy. The Duchy of Upper Bavaria gains 50 opinion of the electorate of Prussia, and the HRE unlocks the Elevate Prussia Parliament agenda. So being part of the HRE, that could affect you as well. You can see here, a new country formed, the electorate of Prussia. This will just show when you do form Prussia. And as I said, next, they're going to show off the colour of Prussia. I like this. It's a really kind of a saturated blue colour. And look how nice it looks on the map. When you take it over the whole of Europe, it's going to look even better, isn't it? But that is how it looks at this point in their campaign. Next, they're going to show off some events that are Prussia-focused. They do say here there are a lot of events around this, and they're just going to show a selection of these, as always, every week. But I do want to mention that this isn't everything. This is just a few of them that they've handpicked. The first one is the financial prerogatives, and this is all around, you know, the financial side of it. So you can empower this, and this will grant the credit work to the burghers. So this will actually reduce your tax efficiency by 10%, which doesn't sound ideal, but income from minting plus 25%. So then you can get your money from minting that little bit better, which is actually probably more stable. Well, I actually say it could be more stable, but the thing is about minting is you have to have access to either gold or silver. And if you don't have access to those at all, you actually can't mint new money, which is an interesting mechanic. The next one is pietism in Prussia. The pietism and its representatives have a strong influence over the officials in Prussia. And this is about if you're going to continue with that or try curtail how much kind of influence they have over you. So let them be known as the Prussian virtues. This will unlock the Prussian virtues policy, and they're going to show this now. So this is a policy in the cultural traditions law. So what this is, if you haven't watched the previous videos on this, is each law generally has a couple of options where you can choose between them. Some of them are locked like this behind an event that will make them available. Some are locked behind advances and things like that. So, for example, if you have an army, you can actually choose like what age of people can go into the army. So like 18 to 60, 18 to 35, something like that. So there's a bunch of these that allow you to specialize your country. And this again is an example for a cultural traditions law. This is stability decay, 0.10% better, monthly control, 0.20% better as well, and then monthly progress towards humanist, 0.10, so you're going to move towards humanist, which is actually a really good thing to move towards. If you're trying to promote your population to better levels, from like commoner to burgher, commoner to clergy, things like that, humanist actually helps a whole bunch with that, so it is a good one to move towards if you are trying to do that. The next event they're going to show is the Canton System of the Electorate of Prussia, a very long title there. So our current methods of recruitment are no longer able to sustain our desired growth of the army, obviously very army focused, and there's two options. Again, the top one is the kind of historical version. Implement the reform. This will unlock the Canton System policy. Our societal values will move towards centralization rather than decentralization. And then what does the Canton System do? It's going to tell you right now. So this policy is part of the recruitment law, and this will give you manpower plus 15%, recruitment speed plus 10% as well. So you can have more armies and you can be able to recruit them faster as well. The next event is called the Immanuel Kant publishes the prize essay. So he was one of the foremost thinkers of the Enlightenment and has already received praise for being one of the great philosophers of our time. And for this, there's just one option. What is Enlightenment? This will give you plus 10 prestige, which is pretty good. And then you'll also get a regionally renowned The Prize essay created by this person, and then that will be part of your realm. And that will also give you some small bonuses as well. The next is the rise of Karl von Clauswitz. You might recognize that name. The game engine they use for Paradox Games is actually named after this chap, so that's pretty cool to see. So they've received reports of a talented man in service of our army who impressed our commanders with his insight into the theory of war. And that is obviously Karl von Clauswitz. And there's one option, employ him. You will lose 0.06 gold, which really isn't that much, but you will gain 5% prestige as well. And he has the military theorist trait. This will give you military tactics 0.05, possible frontage plus 10%, army initiative plus 20%. So he's a very good general. He's going to be really good if you're leading armies. Get him in there. The frontage is a great bonus. Army initiative as well is fantastic to have. Next, they're going to show off some advances that will happen in the later ages of the game. So the first one is the Soldier King of Prussia, available in the Age of Absolutism, unlocks Prussian monarchy government reform. And what is that? Again, they're going to show us right now. So this is a major reform, and the modifier is crown control plus 20%, monthly progress towards quality 0.10, that is related to your army, and then monthly progress towards offensive 0.10, also leaning towards how your army is, you know, that offensive Prussian army taking on the realms of Europe as you do your campaign. Next is a building type, the Sanssouci, probably not how you pronounce it. This gives the location, cultural tradition 0.33, cultural influence 0.33. So that's really going to allow you to push the Prussian culture that little bit better against other cultures for converting them, things like that, getting people to believe in your Prussian realm. And that is the end of the Dev Diary this week. That's the end of our first Europa Universalis 5 Tinto talk. I know a lot of you probably play as Prussia, or at least enjoy playing them a little bit, and this is just showing off a small part of what you can do as Prussia and Brandenburg. Can't forget about Brandenburg, that is who you will start as. Next week, Pavia says they're actually going to expand the Tinto Flavor talks, so we're going to get 2 of them a week now. So as he says here, we're going to get the map feedback on Mondays. On Tuesday, we're going to get Tinto Flavor on one of the major Indian countries and some of the minor ones as well. Wednesday, we're going to have the Tinto talk about Hinduism and a bunch of the other faiths in this area of the world. And then on Friday, we're going to get a Tinto flavor on Delhi. So next week, very India focused, which is fantastic to see. A lot of cool content around there, I'm sure, during this game. So if you want to find out about that and everything else that's going on around Europa Universalis 5, make sure you've hit like on this video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new here. I'm covering this game up to, I usually say official announcement, but that's now happened, so I'm covering all this up to official launch, I guess, and then beyond as well. This game's looking really cool. If you want my early impressions, I did do a video yesterday about it, really talking about what I thought from the gameplay I've played, but let me know what you think in the comments down below about this or that or anything else regarding EU5. But we'll leave it there for today, and I'll see you all next time.